Welcome back to another episode of Life During the Stupidest Timeline with your host, Eli the Computer Guy. Oy vey, oy vey. Oh, just when I get really worried about the next administration coming in, I get to be reminded of how bad the current administration is. Oh, could we just have sanity? Could we just have sanity? Probably not. We ain't gonna be getting sanity for a while. Anyways, for anybody that's been following along with my project, Bottle Web App Framework class. This is what I'm currently working on. So we have the Introduction to Python Self-Study series on Silicon Dojo. I'm currently working. Look at that. Look at all those lessons for the Bottle Web App Framework. I don't know. Hopefully that'll be coming soon. That's how I keep my sanity, by actually trying to build something, because it's just a hell of a thing. Again, just my little spiel, Silicon Dojo, if you want to come. We're doing a class on how to become a tech professional. That's going to be on this Friday. We have the self-study series, and we have office hours. So I did office hours yesterday. Had somebody call in from Bulgaria and the UK, all kinds of different places. Anyways, those exist. But that's not why we're really here. That's not why we're here. We're here for this guy. We're here for this guy. Oh, yesterday we got to talk about how Mark Zuckerberg is trying to pretend to be a man. And today we get to talk about how Biden is pretending to be alive. Oh, God, what the hell happened? I just don't understand. Anyway, so I talked about this before when I was doing the commentary videos before about how, again, basically the Biden administration is god-awfully racist against China. Basically, America is racist against China. China needs to bend the knee. And China's like, no. And then a whole bunch of white guys don't know what to do next. It's like, damn it, my great-great-grandpa knew what to do. My great-grandpa was really good with the brown slaves. If they gave him lip, he knew what to do. But we have lost the technology skill set of dealing with our slaves. So now all the old white guys just don't know what to do when the brown people just don't bend a knee like they're supposed to. And it's getting to be frustrating because I think this is gonna be bad. We think we are on a very, very, very bad path for the United States. Again, I'm not anti-America. I like my country. I love America. But oh my golly, these old white people are gonna fucking kill us. Just saying. So anyways, there's been this real anti-China policy for a long time. Again, one of the interesting things nobody ever talks about, something called the Pacific Pivot. Remember when Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize winning president, basically earned that award for showing up to work one day? Anyways, remember when he pivoted our entire military establishment to focus on China? I do. That is what it is. Remember the Trans-Pacific Partnership? That was where literally we literally stated this. We were going to create a free trade pact, but we were not going to allow China in as one of the first members so that we could secure all of the rules for the free trade pact so that when we allowed China to come in, they would be forced to play by our rules. Like, this is literally policy. This is literally policy. I know the Democrats, too, which is just a curious thing there. So anyways, what we've been having for the past, year or so is this whole anti-China thing, right? You gotta be scared of China. Don't be scared of the United States, because if you get a heart attack, you're most likely going to be bankrupt. Don't be scared in the United States that if you lose your job, you're probably going to lose your house and you won't be able to afford another one. Don't be scared in the United States because nobody has enough of a retirement fund to be able to live adequately during their retirement years. Don't worry about retirement. Don't worry about healthcare. Don't worry about housing. And hey, we're not even going to go into our food distribution supply. Don't be worried about any of those things. Those are not the real danger to our empire. China is. Why is China a real danger to our empire? I don't know, a 9 dash line in the South China Sea. Oh my golly, Eli, China's trying to take over the South China Sea. How close is that to the United States? It's just not. So if you get in California and you hop on an airplane and you go due west, like 8 hours, maybe more, 10 hours after you get into the air, you'll be over the 9 dash line. Um, but anyways, right? Don't worry about your pension. Don't worry about housing. Don't worry about healthcare. Worry about China. China's the real fear. So, anyways, we've just had these idiotic policies, right? Again, instead of building a system, instead of empowering our people, instead of strengthening the foundations of our democracy and our systems, we just got to be scared of China. And so we've been having a lot of this anti-AI thing again because, an old guy who's pretending to be alive. It's a problem. Problem when people are pretending to be alive. It's kind of hard for them to keep track of what's going on. And so basically, they've been pushing this whole idea that AI is an existential threat to humanity, right? Not our food supply, not a whole bunch, but not forever chemicals and all that kind of stuff. AI is. And that's one of the things we saw in the Biden administration, right? So Biden administration, that was last year, they came out with every federal department had to have an AI czar. Now think about this for a second. It's an AI czar. It's not a new technology czar. It's not a deploying systems to make our government more effective and efficient and economic czar. It's not a essentially every department has their own version of DARPA to push their particular niche of technology forward czar. It's an AI czar. Why? Because when you're as old as Biden, you can't teach a dead dog new tricks. And so he thinks AI sounds really cool and scary, so we get AI czars. Again, not cutting edge technology czars. Not we get an AI czar. Anyway, so they've been like this hyper focused on this AI thing, and everything's AI, because again, big tech has basically conquered the government at this point. So anyway, so with this, since AI is an existential threat to humanity, then there's this idea, since China is our enemy. Why is China our enemy? I don't know. Why are we trading with our enemy? I don't know. Why does our enemy create the compounds that we use in our drugs to keep our own people alive? I don't know. Anyways, these people over there that basically allow our society to exist are our enemy. And so since AI is an existential threat, and these people that allow our society to exist are the enemy, we can't let those people get AI. Anyway. I don't understand. So they've been pushing this thing for a while, and basically they've been changing rules. And I talked about this before. So there was this whole idea. So they came out with this whole blueprint for the types of processors, for the types of GPUs that could be exported to China, with the idea that you can't allow those China people to get whatever better GPUs. And then one of the interesting things we saw in the Biden administration, again, one of the things that frustrated me is that the NVIDIA looked at the rules for what you could send to China. And so they especially created a GPU that was under those rules, right? So here's the rules, here's the cutoff, because whatever. And so NVIDIA went under it. Do you know what the Biden administration did? I can't even make this shit up. Literally told NVIDIA, we see what you're doing. It's like, what? Yeah, they're obeying the law. You created a law, no matter how stupid it is, no matter how stupid or wrong-minded it is, you created a law. NVIDIA is abiding by the law, and now you're being threatening towards NVIDIA, because doesn't NVIDIA understand? It's not about the law. It's about a certain non-white race being put in their fucking place, now isn't it? Yeah. Anyways, and so this has been going on, right? So this whole anti-AI chip to China thing. And basically my concern about this is again, China does not want to bend the knee. China does not need to bend the knee. China has good engineers and good industry and the rest of it. Again, it is questionable about how theoretically far behind they are. Again, that's its own thing. But the reality is basically if they want to dump enough money into something, they can get up to speed within a decade. Right? I don't think that is really a point of argument. Again, if you say can they get up to speed in a year, I don't know, maybe, probably not. In 5 years, again, it takes time. It takes time to build factories. It takes time to upskill engineers. It takes time to do things. So, whether it can be done in 2 years or 5 years, whatever. But 10 years, right? Right. China just dumps money and resources into a thing in 10 years. Pretty solid. And again, 10 years goes by shockingly quickly. I've been talking with my wife about that a lot lately. It's like, wow, can you believe 2000 is now 25 years ago? Yeah, 10 years is gonna be here tomorrow. And so basically, my point with all this is if we try to shut out China from this whole AI system and technology and the rest of it, the reality is they've got options. They can either buy from us or they can produce their own. Producing their own costs a lot of money in the whole 9 yards and creates more trade deficit between us and the U.S. Buying makes a lot more sense. But if they can't buy, then they're going to build their own. And then once they do build their own, then what leverage do we have? What leverage, right? And anyway, and then past that, again, as the Biden administration again continues with their abjectly racist policies again towards the Middle East, right? Middle Eastern countries want to build their data centers. Oh, I don't know if we can allow. I don't know if we can allow them to build what the fuck data centers. So, anyways, and basically the thing's going to happen is China's going to start producing more and more stuff. Again, all these countries around the world are going to have to ask themselves, do they want to deal with a fair trading partner? Do they want to deal with a trading partner where the only question is how much does it cost and when will you deliver the items and, what is the terms on payment or whatever else? Or do we have to deal with a country full of, not alive politicians that are still trying to fight yesterday's war that literally may pull the rug out from under you at any point in time. And this is my argument of again, these old people are they're literally destroying the viability of this country because they fundamentally don't understand how this shit works. So anyways, just to just to prove you shouldn't be too scared of Trump, Biden, in the final hours, because as I do this video, it is January 14th. Trump takes office in January 20th, so 5-6 days from now. So Biden is coming out with new AI chip exporting rules. From the Associated Press. Biden's administration proposes new rules on exporting AI chips, provoking an industry pushback. Again, we already have a massive number of rules in place. But he wants more rules. You could empower our country. You could build the foundations of our system. Or anyways, the Biden administration is proposing a new framework for exporting the advanced computer chips used to develop artificial intelligence and attempt to balance national security concerns about the technology with the economic interest of producers in other countries. And again, what you're going to be seeing time and time again is national security. Because that's all they got, right? If you try to attack, because of what people say, again, what TikTok says, that should be protected by the First Amendment. So what do? You attack national security, right? You don't want the brown people to become economically more developed? Fuck, you can't say that. That's racist. So what do you say? National security, right? National security is being used as this blanket to cover up the god awful fucking horrible racism of the Democratic regime, the Democrat regime at this point, which will just get transitioned to a different regime when Trump comes in. National security, national security, national security. And again, when we talk about national security, realize China's already creating aircraft carriers. They may or may not have a sixth generation fighter jet or whatever else. Again, they're putting fuck. if we're worried about national security because literally of the chips that we're mass producing getting in the wrong hands, our society's fucked. But anyways, but the framework proposed Monday also raised concerns of chip industry executives as well as officials from European Union over export restrictions that would affect 120 countries, Mexico, Portugal, Israel, and Switzerland among the nations that could have limited access to chips needed for AI data centers and products, though much of the underlying focus is aimed at China. Quote, if it's China and not the United States determining the future of AI on the planet, I think that the stakes of that are just profound. What if brown people took agency over the planet? I mean, just let. Anyways, Jake Sullivan said on Monday, which is a week before President-elect Trump takes office, Biden officials made clear it would be up to Trump to follow through with or drop an approach that Sullivan said shouldn't be a partisan issue at all. No, getting rid of manifest destiny and the endemic racism in our government shouldn't be a partisan issue. But anyways, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said that it's quote unquote critical to preserve America's leadership in AI and the development of AI-related computer chips. Fast evolving AI technology enables computers to produce novels, blah blah, automate cars, and could reshape economies and warfare. It's critical that America maintain leadership in AI. Raimondo said that the framework is, quote, is designed to safeguard the most advanced AI technology and ensure that it stays out of the hands of our foreign adversaries, but also enabling the broad diffusion and sharing of the benefits with partner countries. Again, the idea we should be able to control all this. With the Biden administration had already restricted exports of adversaries such as China and Russia, some of those controls had loopholes, and the new rules would set limits on a much broader group of countries. Data centers built in the Middle East and Southeast Asia are of particular concern to U.S. officials, said Admelis, an analyst. Quote, Chinese companies have used those data centers to build AI models with technology that they would not be able to import to China itself. So basically the idea, and again, I talked about this for a while, again, the de-Americanizing of the tech industry. So if you can't sell GPUs directly to China, you sell GPUs to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia builds a data center. Then they do, platform as a service or whatever else to Chinese customers, and the Chinese customers get what they want anyway. A technology group, the Information Technology Industry Council, warned in a letter last week that a hastily implemented new rule from the Democratic administration could fragment global supply chains and put U.S. companies at a disadvantage. Yes, because who the hell is going to trust us? Nobody should. Another group, the Semiconductor Industry Association, said Monday it was disappointed that the policy was being rushed out the door before a presidential transition. And again, this is one of the things that we've seen with these anti-China policies is they seem to get dumped in the world before they're fully baked. Quote, the new rules risk causing unintended and lasting damage to America's economy and global competitiveness in semiconductors and AI, ceding strategic markets to our competitors. One industry executive who is familiar with the framework and insisted on anonymity to discuss it said the proposed restrictions would limit access to chips already used for video games, despite claims made otherwise by the government. The executive said it would also limit which companies could build data centers abroad. Among those expected to be affected was a China-based data center developer, GDS Holdings. Its stock dropped more than 18% Monday. Let's see here. Government officials said they felt the need to act quickly in hopes of preserving what is perceived to be America's 6 to 18-month advantage on AI over rivals such as China, a head start that could easily erode if competitors are able to stockpile the chips and make further gains. And again, I just want you to think about this for a second. We're talking about rewriting the world order of economies. We are talking about even our allies having to decide if we are a trusted partner for things like technology and development, all that kind of stuff, right? Again, we don't like what you're doing, and all of a sudden you cannot get basic building blocks to a modern society. This is what all countries have to think about. And we are risking all of that over a 6 to 18 month lead, theoretically, that is going to be ripped away anyway. We are going to destroy our place in the world over a 6 to theoretical 18 month lead that's going to go away anyway. Does that make sense? Oh, let's see here. While cloaked in the guise of an anti-China measure, these rules would do nothing to enhance U.S. security, he said. The new rules would control technology worldwide, including technology that is already widely available in mainstream gaming PCs and consumer hardware. Under the framework, roughly 20 allies and partners would face no restrictions on accessing chips, but other countries would face caps on the chips they would import. The allies without restrictions are Australia, Belgium, blah, blah, but the limits to other countries within the European Union raised objections from the EU officials Monday, who said selling advanced AI chips to EU members represents an economic opportunity for the US and not a security risk. So again, we're so scared of the AI, even European countries might not be up to snuff for us. Let's see. Sullivan stressed that the framework would ensure that the most cutting-edge aspects of AI would be developed within the United States and with its closest allies, instead of possibly getting offshored, such as the battery and renewable energy sectors. So the idea, if we control this, or we try to control this, then we'll control it. Users outside of those close allies could purchase up to 50,000 graphics processing units per country. 50,000 per country. There would also be government-to-government deals, which could bump up the cap to 100,000. And again, this is the interesting thing. Like, what does this have to do with anything? Bump the cap to 100,000 if their renewable energy and technological security goals are aligned with the United States. And this is where it's horse crap. It's not about fucking national security. It's about putting our knee into the necks of other countries, right? What does renewable energy policy have to do with AI chips? Not a damn thing, other than a senile old white guy trying to shove his knee in the neck of anybody who possibly can to tell them to submit. Institutions in certain countries could also apply for a legal status that would let them purchase up to 320,000 advanced graphics processing units over 2 years. Still, there would be limits as to how much AI computational capacity could be placed abroad by companies and other institutions. Also, computer chip orders equivalent to 1,700 advanced graphics processing units would not need a license to import or count against the national caps, among other standards set by the framework. The exception for the 1,700 graphics processing units would likely help to meet the orders for universities and medical institutions as opposed to data centers. The new rules are not expected to hinder the AI-driven data center expansion plans of leading cloud computing providers such as, wait for it, so we're going to put all these policies in place for national security concerns. But don't worry. Guess what companies are not supposed to be damaged? Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, because of exemptions for trusted companies seeking large clusters of advanced AI chips. So isn't it funny? Our tech companies will be exempted from these racist, god-awful policies. Yeah, makes sense. Quote, we're confident we can comply fully with his rules' high security standards and meet the technology needs of the countries and customers around the world, Microsoft says. Anyways. So yeah, that's basically what's going on with the Biden administration now. Got a few days, 5 days, 6 days left in office, and by God, he's gonna torch this country on the way out. Vote for me. I'm gonna burn this damn thing to the ground. So anyways, I think this will be, again, interesting going forward. And I think from like a technology professional standpoint, and again, especially for any of my viewers in the United States, you do have to understand that our technological dominance, to say that it's waning is probably a bit of an understatement. And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Like the whole the Wintel duopoly that existed for 30, 40 years, right? Basically, you had Intel processors with Windows on top And that created the ecosystem that basically everybody was running. Again, when I got my MCSE back in 2000, whether you worked for a hospital, whether you worked for a school system, whether you worked for the DoD, or whether you worked for an interior design firm, they all ran Active Directory. They were all using Intel machines, and they all had Cisco networking equipment, right? You get your A+, your MCSE, and your CCNA back in 2000, and you could work anywhere because everybody was on the same platforms. One of the things I've talked about in the past 25 years, because it's been a while, is that's all changed. Now, again, the tech stacks are just, Jesus, I don't know. Can't even keep up with the tech stacks. So many tech stacks. And so one of the things to be thinking about right now, too, is that so much of the way that the technology industry has developed, the mindset, the models, all of that kind of stuff is very much of the American and the Western mindset. We are burning this to the ground. Over the next, number of decades, we are going to start to see more and more of this is going to be based off of other countries and other cultures' mindsets. And there will be different ways of developing technology and deploying technology, which means there are going to be different products that are coming out and different, options that are out there. And so again, this is one of those things to be kind of considering right now. Again, especially if you're not in the United States, is can you trust the United States as a vendor anymore, just from a practical standpoint? And if you can't trust the United States as a vendor, then the question then becomes is who are the vendors that you can trust? Again, we start talking about things like risk mitigation strategies, right? A senile old bastard in the United States can literally destroy your company just so he can try to prove that he's alive. Well, that's a risk, just like a fire is a risk, just like a flood is a risk, just like nuclear war is a risk, right? Senile old white guys running the United States is truly an actual risk that you have to think about mitigating against. As the question will be going into the future is how do countries and organizations mitigate against old white guy from a very practical standpoint. And then the other thing to be thinking about too, again, which is kind of interesting with this whole AI deal. And again, I talk about AI a lot because it's fascinating, because AI isn't AI. And there's this idea of AI and then there's reality of AI. Like what is really going on with AI, again, with LLMs and all that kind of thing. And one of the things to be thinking about too is, can you build systems that don't end up getting defined as AI? Again, the whole question of an infinite database that is, instantaneously usable. How is that different than AI in some ways? If you can try, if you could put into a database every possibility of an if else statement, again, like literally trillions. If you could have a database of the answer to 10 trillion questions, there's no sequel. It's MongoDB. The new MongoDB. 5 trillion records. Anyways, what if it is unlimited data? Essentially instantaneous response. At the end of the day, how is that going to be different than AI? And so one of the things to be thinking about too is how do you design systems that essentially get around the idea of what folks like Biden are trying to push through. Again, this whole idea of AI. Does he understand AI? Fuck no, he doesn't understand AI, right? It's just a concept to him. It's just a word choice to him. So again, one of the other things to be thinking about is how can you design systems that aren't AI, right? Oh, this isn't AI. It's just an insanely fast database, right? Or how do you break down systems, right? So let's say you're going to create an AI system. And it has to make just a gazillion decision points. Can you break it down into nodes? Can you change how the queries get processed? So instead of having one massive GPU, essentially, that could process any query, could you have the query essentially hit some kind of triage type system or kind of decision making system before it hits the big GPU to basically see if the question could be answered from a much smaller GPU? Again, that's what I've shown with LLMs, right? If you have a Raspberry Pi, right? You can run, God help you can run Olama on a Pi 5. Now you can run a Llama on a 2012 MacBook Pro. So when you're thinking about like AI questions, right? There's AI questions that are really complicated, right? You need the new Blackwell GPU to figure them out. But there's a lot of AI questions that you can probably get the answer off of a 2012 MacBook Pro. So could, again, my favorite thing, could you redesign your architecture so that you have, I don't know, 20,000, a cluster of 20,000 essentially MacBook Pros to answer incredibly simple questions. Another 10,000 of something equivalent of a modern MacBook Pro to answer moderately difficult questions, and then like 5 Blackwell GPUs to answer the really complicated stuff. It's interesting again, like when we start talking about AI, and like that's what I just hate about this old. It just frustrates me. This is why we need to get old people the fuck out of the presidency, because they're too fucking old. Anyways, again, I went to IBM's campus a while ago for an AI meetup, and one of the interesting things they were talking about is again LLM architecture, where they were talking about using 5 LLMs in order to solve a problem. So essentially, you have one LLM that tries to break down what the hell somebody's asking. What is the question that's being asked? Then you have the next LLM. Once that gets broken down, it kind of like categorizes and figures out the exact components that need to be asked for. Then you have the next LLM that actually does processing or whatever to come back with the answer. Then you have the next LLM to put that data into something that a human can actually read a little bit better, and then you send it off. Right. So the idea is you actually have you actually have an LLM stack, right? Each LLM is designed to do something very specific. And when you start thinking about that, again, what's the power of the hardware you need for the LLM just to repackage everything and make it human readable? What's the power of the resources you need for the LLM just to simply break everything down to make it more computer readable? Right? And what you may find out, again, in this 5 LLM stack, one of the LLMs needs insane, again, a Blackwell GPU in order to function, in order to do what it's doing. And then you find out the other 4 levels of that LLM stack don't require nearly as much hardware. And so things to be thinking about is essentially, can you simply design around what these policies are trying to prevent? Um, so, anyways, yeah, more anti-China policy that's going to damage more and more countries. Right? Our hate of China is so significant. We don't care. We don't care if we shred the Middle East. Obviously, we don't care if we put South America or Southeast Asia behind the ball. And apparently, at this point, we really don't care if we screw with Europe. Right? As long as China pays for their success. Uh, Anyways, oh golly, we're gonna be a weird world. We're going to be in a weird world with technology. I'll be curious to see how it goes. And what I'll tell you out here, I'll just put this out there. As somebody that's been doing tech for 30 years, now is not the time to worry about AI. What was it? Dirty Jobs. Mike Rowe said again. Some of the best advice you'll ever hear was from Mike Rowe. He said that all the multimillionaire successful people that he met, right? Basically, they saw where everybody was going, and then they went in the opposite direction. Oh, you're going to go design apps? I'm going to come up with a waste management company. Oh, you're going to build a robot? Yeah, I'm going to go and castrate cows or clean out sewers or whatever else. And they did really well. They did really well doing that. And so one of the things to think about, because the UK just came out with this asinine AI policy. And again, that's what you hear with the Western world, like AI, 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 AI. I'm just gonna put it out there. Not that many of these things are not powerful or whatever else, but be thinking past AI. This is an AI bubble. This is entirely driven by failing tech companies in a world that no longer has 1% interest rates, trying to prove that their valuations should be in the trillions of dollars. That's what this is about. This has not a damn thing to do with national security or any of that horse crap. But anyways, that's just one jackass's opinion. What can I say? I'm just a jackass with a webcam. Moron with a webcam. Talking to you folks once a day as I procrastinate writing the self-study series for Bottle web app framework. I like Bottle, and I cannot lie. So anyways, there you go. Put your thoughts down below. Put your thoughts down below. Are there any times you like look into the future and you see Trump in the future and you're like, oh God, what are we gonna do? And then there's just that moment, you just kind of look behind you and they're like, oh fuck. You're between a Trump and a Biden place. The country is between a Trump and a Biden place. We're all screwed. We're all screwed. So anyways, it is funny because, yeah, some of the viewers are like, Eli, why do you talk about politics? It's like, because it matters. Because, I mean, think about that in the modern world. It's kind of so, literally in the modern world, a guy pretending to be alive as president of the United States can literally determine the architecture for your systems. That's fucking reality in 2025. Oh, I tell you what, I'll stop talking about politics when the politicians get the hell out of my industry. But anyways, oh, with that, I have to actually do some work. See y'all later.